internet, malheuret here and welcome to my lair. Now this video is a bit different obviously, well besides me looking like crap in this quality because like hello acne, do you mind? Anyway, if you haven't noticed yet, I'm speaking English all of a sudden, and this is not a changing room vlog also. But that is kind of the point of making this video in the first place. You see, I've always been somewhat passionate about languages in general, and while I'm no genius, I'd say that I've gotten pretty good at those three that I know. But when it comes to learning English though, what a journey that was, let me tell you. You see, I'm going to be the first one to acknowledge the fact that I'm weird, okay? I tend to obsess over the oddest things and be overly precise to the point of annoyance, honestly. So when it comes to my motivation for learning, properly learning English, it's, well, let's just say that it's pretty much spite. Well, spite and frustration, but that's kind of beside the point. Basically, English was the mandatory foreign language in my school. So I did pick up a few things here and there, but was largely uninterested because the way these things work in my country, well, let's just say that if my English skills at the time were a person, I would trust them as far as I could throw them. But don't get me wrong, I myself was absolutely convinced that my knowledge was unparalleled. Oh, how mighty I've fallen. Back to the story. I was never a big fan of studying, generally speaking. Picking things up along the way, any time of the week. Actually sitting down and actively doing the studying, not my thing at all. But despite that, I've always loved reading. Mostly fiction and predominantly of the fantasy genre because the human imagination is just absolutely fascinating to me. But up to a certain point I wasn't familiar with the classic, so to speak, The Lord of the Rings, that is. So one day, out of curiosity, I picked up the films. What a twist, right? And I watched them, director's cut and all, in Russian. I was about 17 at the time, I think. So I watched the trilogy, loved it to bits obviously, and of course wanted to read the source material, because why wouldn't I? And I did, in Russian as well, because at the time I was completely unaware of the frankly amazing Belarusian translation that exists. In my defense, it wasn't a very well-known translation, and there weren't that many copies printed either. So there's that. But in the end, what I found out was that every single translation into Russian sucked. I couldn't even get past the first chapter for most of them. And that was the eureka moment for me, when I just went, wait a second, this trilogy is considered one of the absolute classics. How come it's almost unreadable again? Oh, the translations. Well, a few translations. If you're so insistent on being crappy, I'm going to give you the biggest middle finger of all and go read the original. And so I ordered this baby. Impressive, isn't it? I mean, it has almost 1,000 pages to its name, so yeah. This is the 50th anniversary one-volume edition, apparently. And so I ordered it and I read it through with notes on every single word or phrase that I didn't know the meaning of. And when I say notes, I mean notes. I really, really mean notes. And those are not all of them, by the way, just those that I knew where to find at a moment's notice. So do with that what you will, I guess. And remember, all of this was because of me not liking some translators' word choices and sentence structure. So, like I said, basically, spite. After going through all that, I of course watched the films again, this time in English. which confused the heck out of me because accents? What trickery is this? And then sometime later I stumbled across Nigahiga's YouTube channel, and that went well. Do you remember his rants? Off the pill rants that he used to do? Well, to a younger me who was not very proficient in listening to someone speak so fast, that was a trip and a half. But I did it anyway because, you know, practice. And also, he's objectively funny, isn't he? I mean, that's always a bonus. And also through some translated work, I found out fanfiction.net exists. And the rest, as they say, is history, but it makes for a pretty good story, doesn't it? What made me realize was the amount of nuance that translators have to keep in mind when translating fiction from one language to another is absolutely insane. Because the goal is essentially not making a word-for-word interpretation, but recreating the original atmosphere, all the while using completely different tools to the ones used in the original language. Kind of mind-boggling to think about, isn't it? On the plus side, thanks to my nitpicky teenage self, I now know another language. Though how well I know it, well, you be the judge of that, I guess. But my personal estimation is it is in fact pretty good, especially considering that I've never even been to any English-speaking country. So, yeah, that's pretty much the story. I find it kind of funny, the motivation behind actually learning a whole language. It's, I don't know, it just seems so petty in hindsight, but at the time I thought I was completely justified in thinking the things I did about translators and the way they handled this particular case. The reason behind me filming this video in particular is pretty simple actually. I aim to kind of inspire other people in terms of learning other languages, because the way it stimulates your thought process is, again, fascinating, to say the least. It makes you think of the possibilities that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So that's why I'm talking to you about this. And not because I'm bragging. So that's why I'm talking to you about it, because I think it's absolutely fantastic for you to learn other languages and to know more than one at least. I know 3, but, you know, to each their own. And besides, I personally think that my brain was not made for knowing more than one, because I have so much problem with... Okay, grammar. Concentrating on a single language when talking to people, because, let's say, some of them know only one of those languages, some of them know 2, but almost none of them know all 3 of those languages that I'm pretty much fluent in. You kind of develop this thought process that doesn't require you thinking in any particular language necessarily. So when you talk to someone, you just kind of pick up your thoughts from this Irish stew that's going on inside your brain and try to formulate your thoughts in a particular language, which is kind of problematic and kind of not. But what I mean by problematic is that your brain goes, oh, I want to say this thing. It is best said in this language because it has a more suitable phrase to use. But then you realize that you aren't speaking this particular language at the moment. So what do? You kind of shut off. You kind of go, what was it? Let me just stand there for a minute in silence and think of a way to put it, which is awkward. But that's pretty much the only drawback that knowing more than one language has. All the other things are bonuses, and it is so worth it in my opinion. because it encourages creativity. That's always a plus. Anyway, I hope you liked me talking about my language learning journey, at least the start of it, and maybe learned something useful for yourself as well. So if you did, don't forget to like this video or dislike it if you found my accent overly annoying. Share this video if you think it was interesting enough. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and also some definitely helpful clothing try-ons that I can totally promise you. Ring the bell to be notified every time I upload, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye! So we hope. Ding 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 ding. What am I doing with my life?